Froggy Eats Out. Take 2. The first time I read this, I had an alarm set on my phone to remind me to do something, and the alarm sounded and interrupted my story and stopped the video recording. Bummer! So I'm starting all over again. Froggy Eats Out, written by Jonathan London, who wrote all the Froggy books, and illustrated by Frank Remkowitz, and I think he illustrated them all too. You know that Froggy's favorite meal is hamburgers and flies, but in this picture it looks like he's eating spaghetti with fly sauce. Yum! No. Froggy Eats Out. So there they are, Mommy, Daddy, and Froggy getting ready, or actually getting out of a taxi at the fancy restaurant. Have you ever been to a fancy restaurant? I have not been to many. You have to dress up, you have to be on very good behavior. The kind of behavior you have to show, like in church, quiet, good manners. I prefer restaurants where you can relax and be yourself. Let's see how Froggy makes out in a fancy restaurant. It was almost dinner time and Froggy was hungry. He sat in the kitchen and dreamed about burgers and flies. Yum. Yum for the burger, not so much for the flies. Then he hopped up and looked for something to eat. He looked in the cabinet, slam. He looked in the fridge, slam. He looked in the oven, bang. Mom, yelled Froggy, there's nothing good to eat. Froggy, called his mother. What? Did you forget? It's our anniversary today. We're going out to eat. Hooray, said Froggy. Let's go. First you have to get dressed. Dressed up, dear. We're going to a fancy restaurant. So Froggy flopped to his bedroom. And you know what noise he makes when he flops to his bedroom? Flop, flop, flop. There's Froggy looking for something to eat and finding nothing. And Mommy announcing that they're going to a restaurant to celebrate Mommy and Daddy's anniversary. He slipped off his shirt, unzipped his pants, took off his shoes, pulled off his socks, and he even changed his underwear with a zap of elastic. Then he tugged on his best pants, zip, buttoned up his best shirt, zut, 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 put on his best socks, zoop, and pulled on his best shoes, zup, and tied them, zwit, zwit. Then he put on his best bow tie, snap, and flopped out to show his mom and dad, flop, flop, flop. So here he is getting undressed, and here he is getting dressed in his clothing for a fancy restaurant. What would you wear if you were told you were going to a fancy restaurant? You have so many dress-up clothes, you could both look like princesses. You look very handsome, dear, said his mother, but you forgot to wash. Oops, said Froggy. So he went to the bathroom and washed his hands and face, splash, splash, splash. He used lots and lots of water, but only a little bit of soap. Then he dried off with a towel, swoop, and looked at himself in the mirror. He thought he was kind of cute. Froggy, called his father. What? Time to go, said his dad. We'll be late. And off they flopped to the restaurant. Flop, flop, flop. At the restaurant, Froggy's eyes grew big and round. There were glowing candles, flowers in vases, and tablecloths as white as snow. Check out what Froggy's mommy and daddy wore to the fancy restaurant. Now think about what your mommy and daddy would wear to a fancy restaurant. Your daddy would look so handsome, and your mommy would look so beautiful. This is a fancy restaurant, said Froggy. Yes, said his mother, so remember, be neat, be quiet, and don't put your feet on the table. When they were seated, Froggy said, I'm hungry, let's eat. First we have to order, dear, said his mother. I want a hamburger, cried Froggy. No hamburgers here, said his father. Peekaboo. When the waiter handed him a menu, Froggy opened it and knocked over a glass of water. Crash! Oops! Cried Froggy. Oh, Froggy, said his mother, remember what I told you? I know, said Froggy. Be neat, be quiet, and don't put your feet on the table. So I guess he broke the be neat rule, didn't he, by knocking over the water. But it was hard to be neat and quiet. He fidgeted. He shook salt on his hand and licked it. He banged his spoon on the table. Bang, 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 bang. Then he hit hard on the tip of the spoon and he flipped it right into the waiter's head. Bonk. After the waiter finally came and took their orders, they waited and waited and waited. Froggy pulled petals off the flowers. He blew on the candle. He sucked on sugar cubes and ice cubes. Froggy just cannot behave himself while he's waiting for his meal. He's not used to having to wait for his meal. Then he hopped up and flopped around the restaurant, flop, 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 singing, be neat, be quiet, and don't put your feet on the table. Froggy, called his father. What? Please sit down, now. There's Froggy singing. And there's his daddy yelling. Froggy sat down. Finally, dinner was served. Froggy stuck his fork into a huge plate of spaghetti and sucked some up. It was fun, so he slurped up some more. And that's when he saw Froggalina. She was sitting with her parents. Hi, Froggy, called Froggalina. Who's that pretty girl frog? Asked his mother. Froggy slurping up his spaghetti, and now he has spotted Froggalina. I wonder what he's going to do. Froggy was so embarrassed, he ducked beneath the tablecloth and pulled and pulled and pulled till his spaghetti and fly sauce landed right on his head. Splat! Uh-oh, he's breaking that be neat rule again. Oops, cried Froggy, looking more red in the face than green. Happy anniversary, he croaked. What a mess, cried his father. Oh, Froggy, said his mother. Froggy scooped spaghetti off his face and said, I know, let's eat out at a Fast Fly's place. Good idea, said his mother. Let's go, said his father, and together they leapfrogged all the way there. Flop, flop, flop. We go to fast food places, they go to Fast Flies places, where they all ate burgers and flies. Munch, crunch, munch. And I guess Froggy doesn't have to worry about being neat or quiet. So that's the story. Froggy Eats Out. I hope you liked it. But you can't possibly like it as much as I like you. See ya.